Excellent. Councillor Porter is in. And Councillor Gordon is trying from his phone. With that, we have 1, 2, 3. If people are moving. We don't have Councillor Townend again. And I'm assuming we're not seeing any signs of our delegation at this point. Okay, folks, well, I think we need to go ahead. The delegations are not here. They may be having the same technical difficulty that both Councillor Gordon and Councillor Townend are having. We do have quorum, and I will ask that if the delegates manage to connect into the system, that we suspend the sequence of the agenda to allow them to present when they do get connected. And the clerk may tell me I need a motion to have that adjustment, but we'll come to that when the time comes. And that being said, we'll move forward on to section 11, Business Services Department and the Treasurer. We have 11.1, the Asset Management Program Roadmap. We have a report from Mr. Dickey, and I believe Mr. Dickey's in the audience. And does Mr. Dickey have anything to add to this report at this time?
Nothing this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions about the report and the roadmap that's presented? Seeing none, we have recommendations with 2 parts. Okay. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Porter, seconded by and Councillor Buderick. Okay. Any comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Moving forward, item 12, nothing in 12, nothing in 13. Right. I'm just concerned about quorum. With the absence of Mr. Townend and Mr. Gordon, we're down to 4. And just verifying with the clerk, 4 is sufficient for quorum for this item with Councillor Porter's declaration of pecuniary interest. And sorry, just one moment, please. And Councillor Townend is texting me, telling me that he is trying to reconnect. One of these days when we have to be patient. We have Councillor Gordon. Councillor Town is still struggling to get in. Welcome, Councillor Gordon. We're moving it. We are going ahead with the agenda. Right, we're currently on item 14.1. Councillor Porter has declared a pecuniary interest on this item. And we have the director, Ms. Merritt, to discuss, or do you have anything to add to it at this time?
Not at this time, Your Worship.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions for Ms. Merritt with regard to this report? I see no questions. We have a recommendation with 4 parts. And do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Parks. And mover, any comment? Seconder? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. Moving to item 14.2, and we have Councillor Townend. I believe we now have all members of council present. And again, my apologies to the audience and all members of council for the difficulties with the connections tonight. We're not really sure why, but we're here now. We have moved forward in the agenda. We're currently on item 14.2. We have a report from Director Merritt with a recommendation. Is there anything to add to this report at this time, Director?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I wanted to clarify that the intent of the bylaw is only to repeal one portion, which is a legal description for a lot. The remainder of the bylaw would remain in effect and in force.
Thank you. And Council, do we have any questions with regard to this report? Seeing none, we have a recommendation. And Councillor Budryk, so moved, seconded by Councillor Porter. Thank you. Mover, any comment? Seconder?
No.
And anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Item 14.3, Lakeside Ponds Phase 1. Again, we have a report from the director. Ms. Merritt, is there anything to add to this one?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Thank you. Do we have any questions with regard to this one?
No.
Seeing none, can I get a mover? Deputy, seconded by Councillor Townend. Any comment from the mover?
No.
Seconder? Anyone else?
No.
I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Item 14.4. And the flank Hamalian, I'm not going to get that one right. It's a request for road closing on Academy Street. Right. We have a report with the bylaw. Okay. The report from the director. Anything to add to this report at this time?
No, Your Worship.
Thank you. Council, any questions with regards to this?
No.
I see Mr. Winnicke's come on screen. Was there comment from Mr. Winnicke?
No, nothing to add, Your Worship.
Okay. And we have a recommendation with 2 parts. And do I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Gordon? and Councillor Parks. And Councillor Gordon, any comment? I think that's none. Councillor Parks? And anyone else? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Moving forward, we're up to nothing in emergency services, nothing in communication, notices of motion or direct motion. Do I have anything from council tonight? Deputy, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a notice of motion, and I'll go ahead and read it if
Please
appropriate.
do.
Thank you. Whereas the World Health Organization characterized COVID-19 as a pandemic on March 11, 2020, and whereas travel restrictions were put in place March 21st, 2020, with emergency orders being established under the Quarantine Act, and whereas the province of Ontario entered a state of emergency on March 17, 2020, and whereas Loyalist Township declared a state of emergency on March 26, 2020, and whereas the Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington Health Unit have enacted orders under Section 22 of the Ontario Health Protection and Promotion Act 1990, and whereas the above noted state of emergencies and orders restricted the ability for charities, community groups, and service groups to raise or acquire funds through conventional methods. And whereas these charities, community groups, and service clubs provide vital resources and support is critical to the community members. And whereas these charities, community groups, and service club partner with municipal governments, reducing the financial pressures on the government while enhancing the lives of residents. Therefore, be it resolved that Loyalist Township Council requests confirmation from the governments of Ontario and Canada that funding will be available for these local, smaller charities, community groups, and service clubs. And further, that a copy of this resolution be circulated to the Right Honourable Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Premier of Ontario, MP Derek Sloan, Hastings, Lennox, and Addington, the Honourable Darrell Cramp, MPP, Hastings, Lennox, and Addington, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Rural Ontario Municipalities Association, and all municipalities within the province of Ontario.
Thank you. I'll accept that as a notice of motion. And do I understand that the clerk already has a copy of that?
Yes, she does.
Thank you. So that will be on the next agenda. Are there any other notices of motion or direct motion? Seeing none, we move to the consent agenda. For the purpose of convenience and for expediting meetings, matters of business that are repetitive or routine in nature are included in the consent agenda. All such matters of business contained in the consent agenda are voted on collectively. A particular matter of business may be singled out from the consent agenda for debate or for a separate vote upon the request of any member of council. In the case of a separated vote, the excluded matter of business is severed from the consent agenda. Each and every matter of business contained in the consent agenda is recorded separately in the minutes. Is there any item within the consent agenda that any member of council wishes to extract? Councillor Townend.
Yes, Your Worship, I'd like to extract item 22.1.
22.1. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to adopt the consent agenda without 22.1. Councillor Buderick, so moved. Seconded by Councillor Parks. Okay. Any comments or questions?
No.
Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. So moving to item 22.1, and 23, which is 22.1, and I'll go to Councillor Townend.
Yes, Your Worship, I would like to motion to receive for information, and I can explain my motion if I get a second.
And thank you. So a motion is to receive for information. Do we have a seconder for that? Deputy, go ahead. You'll second that? Thank you. I'll go with the mover for comment. Unfortunately, we can't hear you.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right. It's mentioned in the Ombudsman's report that in accordance with the Municipal Act, we as a council ought to pass a resolution stating how we intend to address the report. So I kind of felt that if we were to leave the report sort of languish in the consent agenda, we wouldn't be communicating to the public that we do in fact take the nature of the investigation and the findings of the report seriously. And I think my colleagues would agree it was a learning experience from which we hope to better ensure clarity of decision-making in future sessions of closed. And we would wish residents to be aware and confident of that particular intent.
Absolutely. And secondary, did you have comment?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Anyone else have comment on this? I will add my comments. I concur with Councillor Townend that it has been a learning experience. The processes that we use have improved over the last few years and need to continuously improve. And this message from the Ombudsman, and we appreciate the resident who instigated it, right, is a good lesson for us. And I also would wish to note that it does make it clear that there was no malfeasance and no harm caused through this. There was some confusion, certainly. So I appreciate Councillor Townend separating it out for these comments. Back to mover. Thank you. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And come to item 24, members' privilege. Is there anything under members' privilege for any member of council? Seeing none, everybody's happy. Right. We have a list of our upcoming meeting dates for September the 28th, October the 5th, for Committee of Adjustment and Committee of the Whole, and then October the 13th. Is that accurate, or is that the Monday or the holiday? Just verifying. I think the Monday's the 13th, isn't it? No, October 12th is the holiday. Tuesday, October the 13th is the date of that meeting. Thank you. Yes, I should never have second guessed. With that, we come to item 26, the confirmatory bylaw. And oh, Councillor Townend has a comment. Go ahead, Councillor Townend. Can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, Your Worship. I did have one thing, if I could return under members' privilege, if I may be permitted to.
And I'll allow it.
Okay.
It's not far off.
I'd just like to congratulate Rami Mazarani and Jenna Campbell on receiving the 2020 Sustainable Community Award for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. It's quite a big league hitter award for a municipality of our size, and considering the strategic goals in sustainability that council has set, it's a real feather in our cap, and credit goes out to those two who have done us real proud.
And absolutely good for all of Loyalist. Thank you for bringing that up. And I did just see a message on social media pop up on my iPad asking me to confirm that Councillor Gordon is not actually driving right now. He is a passenger in the vehicle. With that, did I get a mover for the confirmatory bylaw? No, not yet. And can I get a motion to, for the confirmatory bylaw, please? Counselor Porter, go ahead. Moved by, seconded by Counselor Townend. Any comments or questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And after so much technical glitch, a motion to adjourn. And Counselor Parks, seconded by Deputy Mayor. And call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you for your patience in dealing with the technology. And as far as the delegation, we will invite them to return at another meeting date. And hopefully we don't have similar problems with the technology. Hope you're all doing well. Take care, all.
Bye, everyone.